As an environmental scientist, our problems are stress-oriented problems. So you take a pollution or drought or salt, everything is a stress-related issues. So that's why as a physiologist, he's going to discuss about the topic on bioeconomy for sustainable future. So as a students, you have a lot of things and queries in your mind. Don't keep it in your mind itself. Please ask, please interact, because for the information of the examiner, the university has introduced a system of the guest lecture by the external examiner, because this is a good chance for us, because the examiner is coming all the way from faraway places to TNAU. So we want to use the expertise of this external examiner. That is why, to provide more information to student university, really we have to thank to the university authorities for facilitating us to get a guest lecture, because if it is only for a guest lecture alone, you will be also thinking whether to come from the US Dharwad to Coimbatore, but it's a chance for us. So please students, please make use of this facility. And again, on behalf of TNAU and the Department of Environmental Sciences, I once again welcome Dr. Doramani, Professor Environment, Professor Physiologist, but he has got more experience in the field of environmental. So welcome you, sir.
Good morning to all. Respected deans and directors of the university and heads of department and scientists from different campuses of our university. Very good morning to all. I'm happy to introduce Dr. MB Doramani. He is professor in the Department of Environmental Science, College of Agriculture, UAS Dharwad. And his area of specialization is environmental and molecular plant physiological research, with a special reference to industrial waste utilization in agriculture and air pollution effect on the ecosystem. In addition to this, he is also specialized in the ozone impact on agriculture crops, and also the use of plant hormones to overcome the stress. So these are his specialization. This specialization worked with many projects. So nearly 7 externally funded projects has handled, and it was funded by many the private agencies and also government agencies, and to the worth of 2 crore project. And he has published nearly 40 papers, research papers in the reputed national and international journal, and has got many awards, and specifically the Environmentalist of the Year 2012 and Scientist of the Year 2015, and Distinguished Scientist and Eminent Scientist Lifetime Achievement Award are some of the awards he has gained based on his specialization. And he has visited many countries. In one is the UK. His all visit was to UK, and postdoctoral research program to study the impact of ozone pollution on wheat. That is one visit. During his visit, he did this research program as PDF. And another is training on utilization of mining waste in agriculture, and also collaborative network meeting on the improved high porosity absorbance using local materials for sustainable clean water. So all these PDF and other collaborative work he has at he visited Durham University at UK, and has guided nearly 64 research students, 42 MSc students, and 12 PhD students. And with all his research work, he has developed 3 technologies. The one is one-time application of distillery spent wash on agriculture, then fertigation of distillery spent wash on agriculture, then distillery spent wash based biocompost application in agriculture. These are the technologies he has developed. So at present, he is handling 2 projects funded by the a private agency and the government agency. Now I request the Dr. Doramani to deliver this guest lecture. Thank you.
So once again, very good morning. It's my pleasure to interact with you all and also the esteemed members, senior colleagues and other things. The topic bioeconomy, I think most of without or knowingly or unknowingly we are involved in this process. Basically, this is this bioeconomy involves using of renewable sources. And why the concentration or focus on this particular new word? Because there are three buzzwords that comes in the year of 1980, 1990, sustainable development. That proved over nearly a decade. Then comes 2008 green growth. Then after that, in 2012, sustainable growth. And the sustainable growth, nothing but the bioeconomy. What happens here is in day-to-day life, in one or the other way, knowingly or unknowingly, we are associated with this particular concept, that's bioeconomy. For example, when I was studying in primary school, there was a lesson in Canada. It was the author was discussing between an old cloth to the new cloth. You know that what is the cloth? One shirt, it has to come out, means it takes 2,700 liters. That was the extent of water usage. If it is only water use, no problem. But along with we add so many dyes, and that dye will have a lot of impact on the ecosystem, both especially the soil and all those things. So the interaction between the two cloths, the old and new cloth. The new cloth was asking to that old cloth, why look so dirty you are? Why you like this, like this? Then the old cloth replied, the fate will come to you the same after certain days or certain years. But you should thank to the owner of this cloth. Though I'm very old, but still he is reusing it or he's recycling me. The concept behind is the same. That means our ancestors have known the problem, what will going to happen in future, and they insisted that nothing should be wasted. And as far as utilization of the non-renewable sources, you know the fate now. They are getting exhausted, and these renewable sources are becoming dwindling in nature, especially the water. You know, our ex-president Dr. Abdul Kalam has told one thing. While giving a speech to the younger community, he told that we can give anything to the coming generation, whatever they need, but we cannot provide the fresh water. Whatever the water that is there, it is polluted. Even in India, there are some rivers. They are called as dead rivers. What is the parameter we say that water is living? What is the parameter we say that? But the water is living or dead. Dissolved oxygen is such a sensitive parameter. It is, say, 10 milligrams or 10 ppm is the optimum, and 5 is okay. And below 5, every narrow window of 5 to 3 ppm means entire ecosystem of the, whether it's the freshwater ecosystem or everything will get deteriorated. That means the biodiversity in terms of reproducibility of the aquatic ecosystem get hampered within 5 to 3. If it is 5 to 100%, when it comes to 3, it becomes 0. So our running rivers are sometimes they are called dead rivers because of the extent of pollution. So using of non-renewable sources is almost end factor because we are almost getting exhausted, and excess or unmanageable use has increased both it affected both soil as well as the atmosphere. So in that context, this topic is going to be, I mean, we are not discussing something outstanding here. Within the available resources, how best we can manage that we can leave a very good environment for the coming generation. The intention behind is this one. We talk about the green economy, green jobs, green taxes. No, somebody was telling me one day it may come that to the mind of the politicians that they may tax on breathing oxygen also. Then those days are not that far away. Because the moment we finish this lecture, nearly 1,000 hectares of land, forest land has been degraded somewhere else. Though we know that, what is the one full grown tree? What is this carbon capacity, capturing capacity? Anybody? One full grown tree, how much carbon it can sink or it can capture from the atmosphere? Any idea? Vegetation, lungs of the universe. Lungs means because they absorb the carbon dioxide and they provide the oxygen for us. 27 kilograms of oxygen or carbon dioxide they capture. One tree. And if you remove the cut the trees in such a fast manner, definitely there will be lots of imbalance in the nature. That imbalance is going to get a lot of problems. Even the paper that we use nowadays, that paperless communication is becoming more common. Because every paper that we use, it's because of from the forest, from the trees. And it not comes like that. It has to be undergo many transformations, chemical treatments. So in that context, we are just polluting the environment in one or the other way. So whatever the resources that we have with us, that has to be recycled, reused, or the waste has to be reduced. Because we don't have any chance to waste anything. What is waste, by the way? If you think that it is a waste, it's a waste. So waste is what? Waste is until you think that it's waste, nothing is waste. Because everything can be recycled. It needs some innovative minds, some younger minds, enthusiastic minds to work upon such things, to see that how best with available resources we can increase or improve our life standards. Life standards increasing, not wasting exploiting the environment, but within the limitations. For example, solar power is there. Leave aside everything. In your hostels, how many of you have the habit of switching off the lights when it is not used? Very good. At least some awareness is there. Because it's not in use, switch it off. Whether it's hostel in your room, whatever it is. Everywhere you go, that should be the practice. You know that when you take a glass of water, it looks very clean, but it's not clean unless it has some parameters to ascertain. So wherever you know that there are many, I'm going to show you plant materials that can be used as simple mechanisms to treat the water. Nowadays we use a lot of what do you call that? Water treatment plants. Something like that comes, they are using some chemicals, but the industry has come up in such a way that by means of some woods, they are cleaning the water, and the quality of the water is very good. So that kind of we need planning and innovative minds, protect the nature with available resources only. That's what my emphasis here is, so that there's nothing new I'm not discussing with you. You know that, but only you have to realize it. That's what my intention here is. I told you, textile industry. One simple example it is. The extent of damage to the ecosystem is very, very huge. So what best can be done? Now, to overcome this, what is the bioeconomy? For this is color cottons. Though yield is less in color cottons, but there's no necessity for using any chemicals to put the color and all those things. There's no use of any synthetic chemicals. They are naturally colored cottons. So that kind of thing should be promoted. But what is the constant for this? Yield is less. So how best we can improve the yield? So in that way, we can avoid the use of chemicals to put the color and all those things. This is what these are the natural color. Looks to be the colored one, synthetic color, but they are not synthetic color, they are natural color cottons. So that kind of technology, that kind of realization of fire, so that we can avoid use of chemicals and all those things. No necessarily you are environmental science students. You know what is carbon footprint? Footprint. Just some give some vague idea so that I can understand. No, please be interactive. Carbon footprint. You heard that word? Okay. Now sitting here in this class, we are responsible for increasing or emitting the carbon. Using light, the energy, TV monitor, again energy. So depending upon our life standard, the carbon footprint varies. You are dependent more on vehicle, your carbon footprint is different. You are using bicycles, your carbon footprint is different. Likewise, Western countries, they have a lot of the per capita carbon footprint is very high compared to the Indian economy, but there is always controversy as far as the carbon emission into the atmosphere, because the population is more here. If you take the overall annual emission is very high, but the per capita emission is very less. That's why in Western countries they say that no, you first reduce your emissions because the population is very low, per capita emission is very less, but since the population is very high, if you take overall emission is very high compared to the Western countries. So this is what the carbon footprint is very high, and every economic growth is going to 1% rise is going to increase about 3 point something of that much of carbon emission to the atmosphere. That means the growth is directly proportional to the emission of the greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Here we have to strike a balance to see that there should be growth as well as there has to be reduction of and agriculture is going to be one of the major contributor of the greenhouse gases. It is going to spoil the ecosystem because water usage is one of the biggest issues. I told one shirt that comes out takes 2,700 liters. So what steps can be used or minimized to see that this water usage can be reduced? So you have to think, you have to come out with the idea in your mind that within the limitations of available resources, the economic growth in terms of yield or whatever it is has to be increased. And you know that especially the sugarcane, a lot of things have come, but still then, in fact, it may be not wise to think that we are spending our energy in terms of water, our soil, everything, and we're exporting the sugar. Instead of that, if you reduce the sugar area and put some other crops, that can be well utilized in the country. I'm not talking about the export or import, all those things, but to maintain or to safeguard our environment, most of the soils have become unproductive now because of mismanagement of irrigation, because of lack of knowledge or ignorantly or adamantly, whatever it is, whatever say that we use excess water, and that excess water is get affected our soils. Very fertile black soils are becoming saline soils or sodic soils. So that kind of thinking has to be needed to see that how best with the minimum availability of water, this will be managed. That's what Aisha has brought coined the term more crop per drop. The intention behind is that how best we can efficiently use the available water resources. Groundwater is depleting, the surface water is polluted. Then we cannot lose the yield because population is increasing, land is shrinking. Yesterday I was in UOT. I have seen I visited UOT 30 years back, and now it's totally different. The entire ecosystem has changed. And to tell you, unfortunately, that it is sitting on a time bomb. Soil is getting loosened. They are removing the crops, making the houses. What happened in Kedarnath? Something like because of excess rains and all those things, landsliding. So, if this is the extent of destruction of the ecosystems, then things are going to be more problematic for the coming generations. So, we have to think how best we can minimize the extent of. I told you, 38% greenhouse gas comes from global food system. So almost, if we take any industry and all those things, this is going to be the most extent of the damage that we are doing to the environment. The majority of global working poor in agriculture, it is unfortunate, isn't it? We the farmers producing, giving the food, but we are always poor. There has to be something to be done to improve the economic stability of the farmers. The what do you call that? Conventional cultivation, it cannot be profitable anymore. We have to add something, some value addition to the products. That is going to be maybe going to help for the farming community and all those things. So that means what I'm telling you, think out of the box, come out with new ideas, because these problems are going to be more. I told the energy per kilowatt, we're emitting 0.85 kg of carbon dioxide. The petrol, 1 liter petrol, 2.296 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Diesel, LPG, wood. So what is alternative? Biofuels. Or at least blending of biofuels with the available petrol or diesel. That can reduce emission. That can at least reduce the use of the diesel, the fossil fuels. So in that way, the emission can be minimized. That's where when talking about the biofuels, then comes bioeconomy. The extent of knowledge or the technology that is there is not that sufficient enough to meet out the demand or to replace these things. One or the other way we should, in future, definitely 50% of blending means definitely there has to be a good solution so that automatically the emission can be minimized. Imagine 1 liter of petrol can produce this much of CO2. So if you take entire world, millions of liters petrol consumed, and that much of CO2 is getting emitted into the atmosphere. That's why these are the things that we have to look in. Nitrification of oceans. Somebody was telling me that use of nitrogen. Excess use of nitrogen has its own impact. That is in terms of what do you call that as eutrophication. All the rivers, they carry these nutrients and get into the sea. And where nitrogen content is going to increase, and that leads to nitrification. The impact is the DO level comes down as well as the pH. The pH, acidic pH means what? The coral reefs, the bioresource of the marine aquatic habitats. So they are very sensitive. Nowadays, where bleaching of coral reefs is going to be the biggest issue now. Even in Indian continent, Indian oceans like Andaman Nicobar or Lakshadweep, you can see all patches of miles the bleached coral corals. That is because of that not only nitrogen I'm talking about, even the where that blue economy or use the marine economy to improve the available resources and all those things. So this is what 70% of water is getting used, 80% of water getting deforested, and all things. So third highest of the energy or the food that we are getting wasted, and very unfortunately that this should not happen. If you provide limited meals in the hostel, complaint is there, they are not providing full meals. If you provide full meals, in one or the other, they leave so much of food waste. You take any social function for that, 30% is the wastage minimum. You take any plate, something will be left over in that. We will not do that home. If you do that at home, we get beatings. But in social function, nobody is going to observe us. So leave it. That trend has to be reduced. You know that how much water we are using. I'm not talking about other ingredients, just water for that matter. That much of water we're using to produce these foods and we're wasting it. Because I don't know whether knowingly or unknowingly, because we cannot monitor every individual everywhere. That kind of realization has to come in their mind. Every grain that is there, it has its own important. You should not waste it. But unfortunately, especially the post-harvest loss is amazing. We're not considering the production, the extent of production involved in that thing, but post-harvest loss is very, very high. At least if you reduce the post-harvest loss, definitely the farmers' economy can be. That's what the extent of involvement or the waste that is we are losing in terms of the food service, household, and retailers. See the food household. That's why that especially the solid waste management that the pyramid reduce, reuse, recycle. If not, apart from reducing, reusing, recycling, getting into landfill, that is the least preferred option. But especially the household waste, we can use that to produce the biocompost or vermicompost. And this waste can be used to produce the energy. You know that long back in one of the serials of Amir Khan, Satyameva Jayate. I hope you might have seen that one. He has invited one mayor of Aurangabad, something that's on town. That particular corporation, they collect the waste. More the waste they give you, that much of consumption there in the current bills. Because that is used for production of the energy. So still we don't have that trend to store the waste in house, segregate the waste in house, and provide it to the corporation bodies so that they can be used. We are not using it, we are not providing it in the right perspective. That's why just throwing on the waste wherever we feel like. That should not happen. And here one source, this is the one area where Angota chaps, that illiterate people are earning billions of money. Just collecting the waste and sending it to recycling units or reprocessing units. Wonderful business, it is not required any hi-fi degree and all those things. Look around your places, you can find some persons, they're really illiterate, but they can earn that because the mind, the innovative ideas to collect to transport, to segregate the waste. So every great walks of life we have one or the other. Because of the climate change, the yields are, reducing, the automotive price is getting increased, and government giving subsidies to the common man in terms of free food and all those things. Again, the demand is more. That means there is more demand for the food, but the resources are dwindling, and that is going to create a lot of problems. Here, the bioeconomy is going to be the one of the most. That's what, in spite of all these things, we are wasting that much of food. 828 million people are hungry in the world. And look at the data, which is really terrible data. We should definitely feel that we are lucky enough to, we will get 2 meals a day. We're like, the every 8 seconds, one child died because of water pollution. We're lucky enough, we have good water, good food, all the ambient is good, but we're not realizing it. How best we can reduce the waste, how best we can think of reusing it. And so many problems. And very recently we encountered the COVID-19, and that has brought the whole economy of the world has getting reduced. The whole economy of the world is get affected. If monsoon is good, the parliament is good. If monsoon gone wrong, then you see, they have to do so many things. Current will not be there to cook the food. And so many diseases we have to encounter. So this is what. So ultimately, it is the bioeconomy that may going to help us if we really involve it. If you don't work, or if you don't get involved yourself, then things are going to be more problematic, not only for us, the entire world itself. Because we are developing countries, we are more vulnerable to any change in environment. We depend more on subsidies. The next step, subsidies close down, things are going to be more problematic. This will lead to social unrest. So we have to produce more and more and more with available resources, that too in minimum quantity. That's what the next wave of economy is bioeconomy, where the major concern is to reuse the natural resources in an effective and efficient manner, so that the overall production can be improved. Not only in terms of producing the food, it should be quality enough. It should have some quality. That's called value addition. Value addition has become, that maybe in Amazon they are selling ash. Have you ever thought that ash comes in a packet with full designed material? 1 kilo of ash costs this much. Anything. That is what called value addition. That's what called marketing of marketing strategy. If you go and take ash from anybody's house, they can give it freely. But that will not feel that. Oh no, it comes from Amazon, it has something. So that kind of marketing strategy has to be there to see that sell your products, making some amendments and see that it automatically will be stored without any much problem. The same nutrient content, nothing much in that, and that can be very well used. The aim is reduce the use of fossil fuels, first thing, because we are using in excess, and at the stage maybe we may get exhausted. The things may get exhausted. So before that, we have to see that there has to be some break on use of these fossil fuels. And because of fossil fuel excess use, ecosystems are getting degraded. both living as well as non-living components of the ecosystems are getting affected. And our soils become unproductive because the microbial growth, the microbial population in the soil is getting reduced. And what happens if microbial growth get reduced? The mineralizing process get affected. That in turn will affect the nutrient uptake from the roots. And even though what happens if the nutrient uptake is getting reduced, we feel that deficiency is there, then we apply more fertilizer. That's how we're going to spoil the soil health. So these are the components. You can use your brain, innovative ideas in all these components to see that the bioeconomy can be strengthened. In the recent 2022 data of Indian bioeconomy, nearly the total budget is going to be $1 trillion US. There is huge scope. Any projects pertaining to these kind of things will going to be funded. There's every chance that we may get funded because of your innovative ideas in terms of reducing the environmental pollution and using the available resources effectively. So you can think of any of these fields. That's startups are coming up now. Government is funding for the younger minds. If you have come with an innovative idea, they can definitely fund and see that either of the technology that you can use and increase the production and the value addition. And the challenges are these: how best you can put your mind. Efficient production of food systems, reducing. That's why now the question of thinking of organic culture, reducing the synthetic fertilizers, using organic fertilizers coming into again. And then the climate change. In that way, we can reduce the happening in the environment or reduce by reducing the greenhouse gases and all those things. See, as a physiologist, you know that we are not worried about increasing carbon CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. Along with the CO2 or any greenhouse gases, the temperature also simultaneously increasing. That is our concern is. So how best, you know, that see there are two types of plants, C3 plants and C4 plants. Most of them, maximum C3 plants are there in the nature, and C3 plants require more amount of CO2. That's a good thing that CO2 is increasing the atmosphere, but unfortunately, along with that, the temperature is also getting increased. So plants are under kind of stress. They cannot cope up with the increasing temperature. So you have to find out some means to see that how best the thermotolerance can be increased in the plant systems. By any means, it may be condensed weeding or apply weeding or many other methods. So that can be a good source for the coming generation. So these are protection of natural resources, competition. All those things are real challenges that are there in bioeconomy. How are you going to deal that? On that basis, the use of the other things are getting reduced. Use of pollution can be minimized. Look here, these are the aims or activities. No poverty. Every house, every person can contribute in one or the other way. And these are about 16 different concepts on which the bioeconomy works. See, one thing I would like to tell you, if more problems are there, more opportunities are. If there's no problems, then there's no opportunity to think. So there are problems. There are avenues. You have to find out. So through that avenues, you not only improving yourself, you're improving the ecosystem. I'm going to give you some live example. That's what we refer to the reuse, recycle, all those things. This is called a circular economy or green economy. That is reducing the things, replacing non-renewable sources and with the biological resources. That's on talking about fossil fuels. So like that, you can see that everything will be circular in terms of reuse, recycled, to reduce the use of the fossil fuels and all those things. And waste is a resource here. Kindly note that in bioeconomy, waste is a resource. Whatever you think that is waste. I mean, in 1990 or 2000, I was in this campus. That time, there was a department. I think it is agriculture engineering, something like that. They used to collect waste papers, used papers. It is they used to reuse and recycle resources. That's a wonderful contribution. There comes with the bioeconomy. Because waste is a resource here. So in that context, you should think that what done or what are innovative ideas. You may feel that it is very childish to think like that way, but that may be a good idea.